Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of Chamber. I am with Gray Augustus, and Gray is the new executive director for the Idaho Falls Arts Council. So welcome to the podcast.
Yeah,
Gray.
Thanks for having me out. This is fun. This is great.
I'm excited to learn all about what's going on in your world, and just kind of sort of get an understanding of what your role entails and what's going on for the Arts Council, your plans, hopes, visions for the future as well. So great. Just tell us a little about you as a person and what are the things you like to do. Tell us about how long you've been here in the community. What's your story?
Yeah, so I've always been an artist. I grew up as a kid. I have letters that I wrote to Walt Disney with like little graphics and cartoons and stuff. And so art's always been a passion of mine. I went to school for painting. I was a painter and went on scholarship and was super fortunate to do that. I dabbled in education while I was in schooling and had done some like physical education. I was a runner, and so I've always competed in running and ran in college as well. And so it kind of dovetailed into doing some educational classes. And then coming out of school, I had been working in specialty retail for a long time. So I was at shoe stores, and that was kind of one love of mine, one passion. Yeah. And so when I first moved up here, that's kind of what I thought I was going to do. The art was... As you go into art, you kind of figure out as a painter, at least, that like it's a hard go to really make a living and go that route. And something that I chose just, with family starting and everything like that was probably not going to be for me. Right. And so I looked and dove into the specialty retail world. That's what brought me up here. My beautiful wife grew up here. All of her family are here. So we moved up 19 years ago now. So we've been up here almost 20 years. Essentially, I don't think of anywhere else as home. Yeah. I had grown up in Vernal, Utah, so I was used to small towns. Right. Was excited to get back into one. Yeah. Spent a good stint in that, and then I kind of eventually ended up through managing some of the businesses and being a partner in a few, especially retailers in the area, having to do some of the marketing side of stuff. And then that led me to, I was at Teton Auto Group for about 9 years as their marketing director. Yeah. And with that, I was fortunate. We got to work a ton with the Idaho Falls Arts Council as well as other arts organizations that our area is fortunate to have. Yeah. And so I kind of filled my art bucket through those endeavors. And then this position for executive director came up. Yeah. Brandy Newton wanted to make a change, and she gave me a call and let me know that like things were opening up and they were going to start the application process. And it was probably one of two things that would have, I would have applied to leave because I loved what I was doing. I loved the company I was with. Yeah. And it was like this, and then if Walt Disney called and said, hey, we've got an opening over here, that would have been maybe a consideration.
That's awesome. Well, I'm excited to kind of learn about how things are since that transition from Teton Auto Group into the Arts Council. So tell us a little bit about how that's been the last few weeks.
It's been fast and furious. It was kind of, it was exciting. I don't think there's ever an amazing time to make a big change for an organization. Like you'd like to say there's a perfect time to change out your leadership. And this was probably the best time. Like Brandy kind of had set things up and she had pre-planned to try to make things go as smoothly as possible. Mm-hmm. That said, like coming in right at the end of the year, we were right middle of our season right now. So the Arts Council usually has a season that runs from about September until usually right about June is our core season, our presenting season. And so we were right smack dab in the middle of it. So I came on the 15th, and about a week and a half later, we had holidays. And then right after that, we had one of our biggest shows. We had Arrival from Sweden, an ABBA tribute band. Yeah, it was super fun. Yeah. Like essentially sold out show.
That was like New Year's Eve or something, wasn't it? Yeah,
that's awesome. Big party. So it was like kind of like you just hit the ground running, and all of a sudden it was this fun mix, of being right in the middle of everything. Yeah. And then shortly after that, APAP is a big conference in New York, and so when you're in the theater like arts world and you're a presenter. It's really crucial to be able to kind of go to some of these bigger conferences. There's a few in our area, and then this one in New York is obviously one of the bigger ones. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where you find your talent. That's where you find your acts. And so we headed right off to New York on the 6th of January.
Wow. So tell us how that kind of a conference works, because like the arts world is kind of a little different to kind of your kind of business expo in certain ways. there's a lot of more experiential things that kind of happen within the arts world with these kind of events compared to a sit down and being spoken at or to kind of expo that you would get in a business convention. So yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, and it was an interesting mix, and fortunate, I talked to several that have been before, and so they kind of prepped me. And I mean, their biggest advice, like, and Brandy especially, was like her biggest advice. She was like, record everything and write it all down.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I've been to all these business conferences, both in the retail world and automotive world. And I was like, I got this. Like, we've been to huge conferences, and this, it's set up to where the first part of the day is really seminars, and they have programs that are designed to help you grow in your profession. And they're you're talking about the arts and how to expand the arts in your community, and you're meeting with other, like, we have a group called Arts Northwest, which is a lot of the presenters in our area. And so you're doing some of those meetings, but the minute you get there, you are being kind of bombarded with appointment requests from all the promoters. And they'll have anywhere from 5 to 100 artists that they represent.
Right.
And their job is to find these artists, their gigs. They're trying to get them scheduled. And so they're setting up appointments with you starting at like 8:00 in the morning, even though the conference, like in the expo hall, doesn't open till 1:30. And it's all set in the Hilton Midtown. And most of these conferences will have some sort of conference center or hotel. And just imagine like every corner of the hotel being an office and a place where you could potentially have a business meeting.
Yeah.
Like every little desk, chair, corner, it's all taken up. So that's a big portion of it. And then they do have 3 floors of expo hall where the promoters will set up their small booths that you're traditionally used to in an expo.
Yeah.
And you can schedule in those appointments, or you can also kind of walk through and just see if anything catches your eye. And then usually about 3:30 during the day, they had roughly right around 12 to 13 stages set up throughout the hotel. And these artists would start doing what they call showcases. So they would do little 15-minute sets.
Wow.
And they just try to pack the rooms so you get to see them and get exposed to them.
Yeah.
And then on the other end, there's also, you're right down, it's an amazing spot because you're right down close to, Times Square and Broadway and everything is right there. And so a lot of the promoters that have bigger acts are also renting out some of the different spaces. And you get to be in that area for this conference. It's kind of fun because there's so many iconic places that are there. I mean, we were able to, and fortunate to see, we went to 54 Below, which is kind of known for bringing in, kind of solo to small Broadway acts. So you're looking at talent off Broadway that's just there to perform. And then there's another one called Joe's Pub, which is kind of similar. And you're going to those. And then we went to a couple small off Broadway theaters that were kind of back alleys that the promoters had, reserved or booked out. And that goes until, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
To see all those, and then you come back and you do it again. And I was fortunate. I was able to travel with Laura Hill, who is our rentals manager. So she's kind of our like wizard of the calendar.
Right.
And so we actually were able to kind of work with each other to keep things rolling and kind of manage multiple appointments.
Awesome.
And so it's like, I think a lot of people travel by themselves to that, and it would be hard not having an additional person there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice that way.
That's great. So what was like one of the kind of exciting things key takeaways that you had from the time you spent out in New York?
I think 2 things I would say. One is regards to our facilities. Like, we are so fortunate that years and years ago, we had the investment individuals who got together and said, we are going to figure out how to raise money and convert the Willard Arts Center into what it is today. I hadn't been to New York for a long, long time. And so we went to a Broadway show, and you glamorize it, right? You're like, I'm going to Broadway. It's going to be just this like amazing theater. And they are beautiful, historic theaters. But like the Willard Arts Center, and it's not bragging at all, like, is taken care of better and is just as good as probably any of the Broadway theaters we went into. I mean, I'm not saying that it's as iconic or has the same distance of history, but like we have one of the top historic theaters in the country, and I just don't think people sometimes see that. So that was one thing, is to kind of revitalizing and be like, oh yeah, like we're in good shape, and our theater is bigger than most of the other presenters in the area. So we're super fortunate there. So it kind of reintegrated that. And then the other piece was we saw so many different types of acts. I mean, it's everything from tribute bands to Broadway performers to magicians to Cirque, and it was kind of fun to be like, good talent is good talent.
Yeah.
No matter if it's we saw several things that weren't my like cup of tea, right? It's not something that I would go buy the CD,
right,
having not seen the artist.
Yeah.
And I walked away with several vinyls and CDs because it was like, that guy's just good.
Yeah.
I mean, talent is talent, and it can come out, and it might not be what you think you're going to like.
Yeah.
But if it's somebody who's operating at such a high level, like, it doesn't matter. It can be any art form. And
totally agree. So what have we got coming up then for in the Colonial and then for the Arts Council? What are the kind of big things to expect this coming year?
Yeah, so I mean, first we're going to be finishing out, the 25-26 season. So we're just kind of heading into several of our A Street session shows, which, if you haven't been to an A Street session, it's in our car gallery, and so it's more of almost a cabaret style. You're seated at tables. You have drinks that are provided with tickets, and there's food and things like that. That you're able to snack on. So it's a little more of almost a club atmosphere, really close to the artists, really more personable sessions, usually up and coming artists that are, just starting to break out. And so we have Andrew Allen is going to be here shortly. And then we do have several, we have two shows that I'm super, super excited with. One is we have Cheyenne Jackson coming back. And he's, a renowned Broadway star. He's been on several Disney movies as well. Yeah. And is just a fantastic singer. And so he'll be back in February. And then we have a show, a Momix show that's an Alice show. It's a Cirque show. Okay. Going to be super strange, and you'll probably walk away being like, that was kind of weird. But it's going to be super, super fun to have on the stage.
Great diversity between the two acts you're talking about.
It was, talking to people. I think one of our benefits is that we approach the arts, like our part of our mission is really bringing things to Idaho Falls and like kind of educating. Like, part of it is like, we want to educate the community, right? So we want to educate you on the arts that are available, stuff that's happening in the world. And then it's increasing the quality of life. Yeah. So we do that through presenting a wide variety of art. So we're not going to be, a theater that's traditionally bringing in kind of the same type of act. And it kind of surprised a lot of people. Like, when we would tell them all the different like variation of what we bring in. I mean, we have everything from your local dance studio, and they put on fabulous Nutcracker performances, to local bands, to acrobats and Cirque shows, right? And it all can tie to the mission because it's all kind of educating you on what's available in the artistic world. Yeah. So the season is really diverse, and then going into kind of summer, and as we look to the future, we're really looking this year as we dive into programming right now on how can we bring in and amplify some of those things that you normally would travel for. Like, we essentially want you to be able to come to the Willard Arts Center and not even know what's going on. Like, I don't want you to have to know who the band is. I just want you to be able to trust that we are going to do everything we can, and you're going to see New York caliber.
Yeah, you're going to have an experience. And it's going to be memorable.
Eastern Idaho. Yeah,
I love that. So how do folks react when you're kind of at this conference and you're saying, like, we're from Idaho Falls? What's their kind of reaction? Are they kind of like...
A lot of them think we're Iowa for some reason. Like, we get confused. They're like, I had multiple people that were like, oh, like, I just don't know if I could put up with it being that flat. Oh. And I'm like, wait, are you? And so then you find the kind of, so I think there's not a lot of people that understand really where we are. Right. Like, there's your West Coast, and they understand the California side and up to Seattle and Portland and things like that. And then it's like a jump, and they jump over to East Coast, and then like your Iowa area apparently. And we're in kind of this lost hidden area. There's kind of an excitement from the artist standpoint. Like, a lot of them want to come out here. Like, they get super excited when they get to come visit here, because it's usually not somewhere that they've been. Right. And they all know that it's beautiful and the things we have to offer. Yeah. So, yeah.
So what do you think we could do as a community, and I'm kind of incorporating the chamber in this as well, to kind of help kind of get a better identity and recognition about, what we have here in Idaho Falls?
To get recognition, I think first and foremost, number one is participating in the arts. And that's not just the Arts Council. We have, the Idaho Falls Symphony. Mm-hmm. You have private entities like Center Stage. You have youth arts, like Idaho Falls Youth Arts Center.
Right.
We have multiple youth arts initiatives. Ammon has several really, really fun arts programs. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going and purchasing tickets. And even if you don't have a youth in some of those programs, and going and partaking of those arts is the first and biggest step. Because the more people we have supporting, if we can sell tickets for stuff, we could bring in whatever we want. There's no limit. And I think that was interesting to look at, is this idea. We kind of, like, a lot of people assumed initially when they're like, oh, you're from Idaho Falls, small town in Eastern Idaho. Well, what's your budget? And I'm like, well, what's it cost?
Right.
We watch and we monitor the budget really closely. Like, we're looking at all these acts and really trying to make sure that we're, fiscally responsible with them.
Yeah.
But really, there's not a limit. We've done a lot of really amazing things and brought a lot of amazing acts to the area. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to ever look at it as like, hey, there's nothing that we couldn't bring here.
Right.
It's just whether or not the community's willing to
embrace it,
it and support it and kind of help make it happen. So seeing those is really good. And then I think sharing it. Like, if you have a really good experience with an arts organization in Eastern Idaho, let everybody know.
Yeah.
We've gotta share what we go to. We get all the times, we'll put on a show and let's say there's 800 people that come to it. And you're always going to have some who maybe don't enjoy the show, or there was something that they weren't expecting. And that's just going to happen, I think, in anything we do. And we try to acknowledge and help with that as much as we can. But we'll get, let's say, 3 or 4 comments of people who maybe had those experiences. So that means there's 797 other people who either had a good or an amazing experience.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we sometimes forget to tell people.
Yeah.
It's just like eating out, right? We're like, if someone screws it up, we're going to let you know.
True.
If we have just a good experience.
Yeah.
So, share it, tell people what it's at, and then just go partake of it. Like spend some time looking around and being like, all right, what are we going to do this weekend? And, how can we, engage maybe my friends, my neighbors, colleagues, certainly from like the chamber standpoint, we always look at, interacting with businesses and how can we be beneficial to businesses.
Yeah.
I truly feel like arts in Eastern Idaho is probably one of our biggest economic drivers that we have for business development.
Yeah. I'd agree.
So
I'd agree. We got a lot of folks that do come into town specifically to take a look at, when they're looking at setting up a business or establishing a business, they kind of look at obviously education, but also look at arts, look at entertainment, they look at leisure, and they kind of put it all together and see what Idaho Falls has to offer, So it's crucial, in my opinion, that we have a really good, vibrant arts district and a community around it. It's really important. There's talks about funding and stuff going on with the legislature this year. Around arts in particular. What would be your message to any legislator that might be listening in today?
I think when it comes to the legislator, and I would tell you, if you ever have questions and you really want to deep dive, Carrie Athy with the Idaho Falls Symphony is an amazing resource. And I've talked to her a couple of times, and I hope to, pick her brain a little more.
Yeah.
But I think first and foremost from the legislative side is when you're looking, if they're looking at bills, is take a moment and look at the studies of the benefits of art. Because obviously, coming from the education background, I always approach it from like when I was teaching, I used art a lot in my classroom, and I could anecdotally see the benefits when I would implement it in prior to testing or prior to harder sections or units. And there's a lot of studies that will show both with the fine arts and the performing arts, whether it's music or acting, the benefits and the increase in academic achievement that happens when you have arts in schools. And then I would really dive down, and I would encourage them to dive down into what the economic impacts in the various communities that they represent truly are from the arts.
Yeah.
Whether that's here or Boise, all around is a great spot to look at.
Great. Well, I agree. We're just blessed, I think, to have such a great asset in town, and with the Willard's Arts and the theater, and we got the art museum, we got the symphony, we got center stage. You got all sorts of folks in town, all trying to do their part in terms of contribute to the arts, and I'm excited to see that you're at the helm and running things. And I've known you a while, and congratulations on this new role, and excited to see what you do. And I'm here, and the chamber's here to help in any way we can. And wish you all the best, Gray, and good luck.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thanks for being on the podcast today. Appreciate it. So that's Chambers today. Everyone, this is Gray Augustus from the Arts Council here in Idaho Falls. And thank you so very much for tuning into this episode. You can watch it on our YouTube channel, or go onto our website, idahofallschamber.com, and get the link. So see you at the next one. Thank you.